right, folks, I'm David, and welcome back to the Coachful Coaching Leadership Podcast. Today I'm here with Louise Buchanan. She's been a guest on this podcast in the past. Actually, Louise came up with a really cool idea to have leadership quick fixes as a podcast episode. So that's what we're going to go through today. And we're going to go through different questions from different viewers, but also that Louise has aggregated over the years, as well as myself. So that is what we're going to go through. Louise, you're from an HR background from the financial services sector, right? So you've seen a lot of these leadership problems and leadership questions come over the years, right? All right. How about we go through one of our questions today? Sound cool? Okay. So today's question: what strategies can you suggest for making effective decisions when there are multiple stakeholders, each with their own interests and perspectives? Okay, you worked at a big bank.
Yeah.
Right, Louise? This is like tailor-made for you.
Yeah. Well, listen, I think technology leaders have the toughest role to play when it comes to decision making with multiple stakeholders, because Jen, you're working with your colleagues, you're working with your team, and then you're working with your client, and then maybe you're working with an extended group, right? Whether it's finance or cybersecurity or data, like everything is connected to technology. And so when you're trying to lead a large initiative and you have multiple stakeholders, it can be very, very tough. And I think the culture is a big component. And so I say that because if it's a very collaborative culture, you may think you're running this and you're the decision maker, but maybe you're not. And so understanding up front and being very clear, like who's the final decision makers, and maybe that's different decision makers for different parts of the initiative, right? But getting that clarity early on and agreement from everyone. Like, I'm making the decision on that. You're the decision maker on that, right? And this is how I'm going to get everyone's input. So the second part I would say is that communication. And you can't communicate enough. Communicate on finding out what everyone thinks you need, communicating on options, communicating on the proposed approach, communicating on all the impact of that. I would say communication, if you're leading an initiative, is one of your top rules.
Yeah. One of the frameworks I've seen used is it's called RACI, RACI. I mean, it doesn't guarantee things will be smooth at all, but at least there is somewhere a RACI matrix for those who are just listening. RACI. I'm sure a lot of those from the corporate world have heard of those. So R stands for responsible, A stands for accountable, C stands for consulted, and then I stands for just to be informed. And so, assigning the different swim lanes or the task items, and then are you an R, A, or CI, or combination of those? It gives some, much more clarity as to who is responsible, who's the ultimate owner of that task or the part of the project, right? But what you said there also reminds me of understanding what's in it for the other person and where things fall down. But using a RACI matrix is the incentives of some other individuals and other groups. It's just not aligned with what you're trying to accomplish or what this project is trying to accomplish. If you're incented to go left, but they're incented to go right, that boat is not going to go too far. But these are frameworks that help, right? So, yeah, you're right. This is a fun one. Fun one, I find, especially in large matrix organizations where most of your day and most of your week is spent working across other departments. I do want to say one thing though, like apart from frameworks, like just the good old fashioned, like building relationships with people, right?
So important.
Yeah. And honestly, building trust with them. You talked about trust quite a bit in our podcast and some of these questions. Building trust with people, right? Whether they report to you or not. Yeah. And I think sometimes that's just touching base with people and having an informal coffee or beer, whatever is your choice,
Yeah.
that helps in making decisions too.
Yeah, because if you got that trust, they're going to give you feedback, right?
Yeah.
And you need that feedback because people might nod their head or read an email and say sounds good, but you don't know the whole story unless someone tells you, right? And they usually do if there's that trust.
Yeah. All right. You good with this question?
I'm good, yeah.
I am good too. All right. Here's the question. After a significant setback where my team's morale is low due to increased workload and fewer resources, how can I, as a manager, rebuild my team's confidence and effectively distribute the workload? Has that ever happened to you, Louise?
Oh my goodness, all the time, right? You're like excited, you're starting the year on this big initiative, and then you find out Q1 results weren't good, cutting back resources, but you still need to get all of this done, right?
Mm-hmm.
And it happens all the time.
Yeah. So, from the perspective of like, your team's confidence, I mean, what are some of the things you've done to bring them back up?
Yeah, I mean, being open and honest, and we've talked about it, being authentic, having strong relationships, having trust. All of that is so important with your team, and so being open around. Okay, we thought we would have these two resources to help us on this project. We don't, but we're a team, and we're in this together. And I'm confident we can still get this project done. Let's relook what's on everyone's plate, what our timelines are, and then have a conversation where your team is part of the decision, right? Part of the outcome, part of the thinking, so that they feel empowered and they're like, okay, I get this, and we're gonna change the way we're gonna get this done to make it more realistic with this change that occurred with the resources.
Yeah. What catches my ear when you say that too is you're involving your team in the decision as
Yeah.
well. So they have ownership into, their future, even though it might be an overloaded future. They had some hand in um, making that decision too, right? And determining priorities. This one hits home for me too because like my industry went through like layoffs, right? And one of the first things that it sucked the day of layoffs, and you see like 10% whatever of your colleagues exit the business. Nothing they did wrong. Just you're redundant now. Bye bye.
Yeah. Yeah.
And yeah, that was low morale. And one of the first things I did was I got on with everyone, and first thing I said to them, it wasn't anything flowery or anything. It was, today sucks. That's how I started my address to
Yeah.
my team. Today really, really sucks. And I hate it. And I'm angry. Right? Because some of my good friends were let go. And they were high performers too. And that's how I started my my address to my team. And so it was authentic, but just rebuilding confidence, it was okay, let's take a day or two. Let's suck it up, right? Like let's wallow in whatever feelings that we have. But then it was building a hope for the future, right? And and I had to get my head on straight too. Like, okay, where are we going with this business? And how, where do I want to go and how am I going to do it? And it was helping my team understand what's on my mind. It's like, okay, this sucks. We have less resources, but here's where the opportunity is. And helping them understand, like, here is where I'd love for us all to go together. And here's how I see us being able to do that. And I need your help to go there. So building a hope for the future, but also like helping them understand, like, I'm serious about this and I believe in it as well. So rebuilding the confidence there.
Yeah.
And then, yeah, including them in the process, whatever that process is. Right.
Yeah.
So,
Like, what's the new visions? Like, the world's upside down for me all of a sudden, right? So,
yeah.
what's the vision? How are we going to get there? Those are all great things a leader can do. And then I would say check-ins, right?
Hmm.
So some people I've worked with are really good at letting you know, like, hey, I'm not I'm not succeeding. Like I'm overwhelmed. Just these other things came along that I wasn't expecting. And other people don't tell you, right? And
Hmm.
then you just find out through others or you just never find out. Meanwhile, they're so unhappy because they're feeling overworked. And so learning how each of your employees will communicate with you is so important, and then checking up and making sure that that they're keeping their head above water and they're still excited about this new vision.
Yeah, yeah, and yeah, it's checking in with folks is important. Um, and in good times or not so such great times. But the important thing is that you have that relationship, so that when things do get tough, you have that relationship already in order to talk about the tough things, whatever it might be. So
Which gets to trust, right? And we've talked about trust in a number of
yeah,
our
seems
sessions.
seems kind of seems kind of important, right?
It's a theme,
This trust thing.
definitely.
Yeah. Okay. Well, that's our questions for the day. I just want to wrap this up. That's this is part of our new series in the Coachful Coaching Leadership Podcast. All right, Louise, anything else you'd like to say to the audience out there?
Yeah. Have fun. Hope this was helpful information for you.
All right. All right. Well, folks, thank you very much for listening. Thanks, Louise.
Thanks. Bye.